I really enjoyed Pokemon. Yes, this title of The Simpsons is a parody of Pokemon, and this is the 10th episode of the 12th season, directed by Bob Anderson. It doesn't seem to be the most well received from this season. It's got 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb, which is pretty average for season 12, but honestly, I rate it quite a lot more highly, and I think there are various reasons for that. The first is that Marge has a great role, which does happen occasionally, but is not that frequent. The art that is created is plentiful and very well animated, and we have a new character who I actually found unpredictable and difficult to fully determine his character, and I quite liked him. Marge visits a prison, and she ends up teaching an art class, teaching art classes at the prison, and she meets Jack Crowley, voiced by the brilliant Michael Keaton, and she finds that he is very talented and ends up agreeing to have him in her custody if he is released, and that's exactly what happens. He gets parole under Marge's custody, and she manages to get him a job painting a mural for Springfield Elementary School, but things don't go to plan, and I will talk about that with a spoiler warning in more detail in a moment, because I have a few specific thoughts around that. But Jack as a character I really liked. I could never work out how I felt about him. Did I trust him? That was the big question. And honestly, I kept going back and forth thinking, yes, he's trustworthy, this is a great idea, and part of me thought this is a big risk, and there's no real indication that he's necessarily reformed, but maybe he just needs a chance. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the kind of self-confusion with how I felt about him. And of course, brilliantly voice acted by Michael Keaton. We have a subplot as well involving Homer, and a back injury, and something that kind of suggests he is able to fix people's back problems, putting chiropractors out of business. That part of it is obviously overshadowed by the main narrative. I feel like that could have actually been enough to be the main plot in a separate episode, and it would have been as interesting. But yeah, it worked well. I was fascinated by that. I was curious to see what they do with it, but my main interest was with Jack. So spoilers. From now, I'll discuss in a tiny bit of detail what happens with this mural. So he paints this mural that is incredible from an artistic perspective, but Skinner is not exactly happy with it, and he forces Jack to paint over it with a very plain, uninspiring, but also unoffensive mural that Skinner wanted. And then something happens. I know I said there'd be spoilers, but I'll kind of pussyfoot around it a bit. And something happens that seems like Jack's getting the blame for it. Did he try and seek revenge for Skinner telling him to do something? And at that point I thought maybe if Skinner hadn't done that, things might have turned out very differently for Jack. And maybe his ending would have been different. I don't know. But I certainly enjoyed that aspect of it, and kind of, again, I was going back and forth with, did he do it? Did I trust him? Is he untrustworthy? Was Marge wrong to trust him? Are we, blaming the wrong person? I had so many questions that the episode does ultimately answer, but it made it quite exciting and quite fascinating, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It may not be everybody's favourite based on the ratings, but actually, for me, I have to say that Pokemon is one that I really thoroughly enjoyed.